Ooh, what is going on, guys? Op here, back with another story time video. This was yet another weird dreams last nightmare that I had, and I tend to get bad dreams when I'm cold. On this particular night, I was watching some Twitch streams and I had fallen asleep on my couch. I woke up maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. I realized that I was cold, so I got in the bed. Thing is, when I'm really cold, I usually sleep with like 2 comforters, but not this time. I was too tired to bother getting a second one. So I go to sleep, execute long dream. Now, you never really remember the beginning of a dream. You always just sort of remember being right in the middle of it with the things that just happen to have large details. So the first thing I remember is I was running around in super speed like the Flash. Usually I have the ability to like fly, but for whatever reason this time I had super speed. Maybe I was watching a lot of the Flash on TV, I don't know. Actually, I always watch The Flash, so that's probably a thing. I was running through an open field of land with the woods both behind me and to my left, and then there was a small town to my right. And suddenly I see another person who started out running even faster than me in the distance. And then he jumps into the air and he starts flying, but literally at the same speed. So I'm trying to catch up with this dude, but he's like half a mile ahead of me at this point. You know, this long stretch of field. And I keep running it to the point where I see the flash of light in the sky where the dude was, almost as if he like created a sonic boom when he suddenly stopped and turned around. And from out of the flash of light came what appeared to be a family of speedster people coming out of the sky and landing on the ground in a distance. Some of them were on their feet while others were on horseback. They all start running towards me at super speed, and I noticed they all had energy sizzling off of their bodies when they moved quickly in the same way that I did. And of course, you know, when the Flash actually runs, he has these lightning bolts come off of them, although in this dream, it was more like the sound of sizzling fire, if that makes sense. This led me to believe that their powers were the exact same as mine, but they had way better control over it than I did. I remember one of the guys on horseback sped right past me, and I thought it was so cool as well as confusing that the horse somehow has the same powers as the guy riding him. Maybe he transferred his powers to the horse and now the horse can run at super speed. I don't know how this works. So then I walk up to a group of about like 3 of these people, and I ask them, you know, how can they move so fast? Because I thought I was the only one. But it was also this weird thing that happened like it sometimes happens in real life, where you walk up to a group of people talking to each other and you try to add yourself to the conversation, but everyone pretends they didn't hear you. It was sort of like that. So then this large entourage of people started running back towards the woods where I had just come from, but there's still a large amount of field in front of them before, you know, getting to the woods, if that makes sense. So there was some distance between us and the woods. And I'm doing my best to keep up with these people because I want an answer to my damn question, as well as a few others, like, where does this power come from? Why do so many of you have it? Why do I have it? I just wanted to know. It was at this time that I realized that this was happening at sunset, because I specifically remember it being in the middle of the day just before. And now the sun was setting. So then a little blonde white girl speed runs right next to me and grabs the hand of what I believe to be her father on one of the speeding horses, and then they speed up past me with the group that was ahead of me. There's still some people behind me, and it's sort of my idea to slow down and run next to them so that I can ask them questions about my powers. But they all ended up going right past me, and I remembered it just making me feel like it was this one thing that made me feel special because it was super speed, and I thought I was the only one. But no, I was absolutely wrong, because it felt like it doesn't make me special, because everyone else can do it better than me, and they won't share their knowledge with me. So it made me feel inadequate. Of course, this is just in a dream, but it probably says something about my actual life. Moving on. So now they're a good ways ahead of me, and they all peel off into the small town that I mentioned before, and they start weaving through the streets of these seemingly randomly placed houses. I mean, these houses were not like regulation placed on the street right next to each other in a predictable pattern. I mean, they were just kind of placed all over the place like a child's playset. And I'm doing somewhat of a good job of keeping up, but every time I go around a corner, I can only see the trail of energy as if one of the speedsters was just there and I'm just catching the very end of their trail. So now I'm going way too fast. I'm moving almost as fast as them, but I can't slow myself down. And I remember that one of them took a right turn where I instead jumped straight across a lawn, which was right next to a ledge with about a 5 or 6 foot drop, and I fell onto another street. Then I came to a complete stop. They have actually managed to lose me. And with all of these randomly placed houses, I have no idea which way these guys went. Somehow I got the idea that maybe they were a family and they must live close by if they're running specifically through this town. I'm determined to get some answers, so I start speeding through the town, but you know, I'm pacing myself. I'm purposefully going not too fast. And so I end up going up some stairs in the underpass of a brick building which leads to another street in the town. If I'm standing at the top of these stairs, immediately up these stairs, there's like maybe 5 yards of grassy land in front of me leading to a stone wall. I'm on a dirt road. To my left there's a stretch of road with a house a little ways down, and to my right there's more of the town, but there's an open gate leading to it. In the left corner of my eye, I see a figure. When I look at it, it's a black metal suit of armor about the size of maybe a 10-year-old with multiple arms. I don't exactly remember how many. I mean, it was more than 4. And it was less than 10, so I'm gonna say maybe it was like 6 to 8 arms. And I remember that they're all holding teal colored swords that look like they're made out of bone. In fact, the blades on the actual swords look like the fingers of a skeleton, so try to imagine a really long index finger about the length of a kunai. That's what they look like. The suit of armor reminded me of Yoshimitsu because it was sitting with its legs crossed, holding out more than one sword. So, you know, if you know Yoshimitsu in Tekken, he poses like that. And it was also wearing a Black Knight's helmet with a red feather on it. I thought that was interesting. Then I started to have this weird feeling of deja vu in the dream, as if I was remembering bits and pieces of the dream before I was coming out of the woods, and that earlier I had saw someone online who was into the occult that made a post of some kind that showed that they had decorated their house with all kinds of evil and demonic ornaments. I don't know if I actually dreamed it, but in the dream I believed it was an actual memory. Isn't that weird? Like, you don't know if it actually happened in the dream, but in the dream you believe that it happened? Like, that's like inside out deja vu. I don't understand how this happens, but anyway, let's continue. Now, this house that I saw online, it just so happened to be the house that I was standing next to. I had somehow managed to find it by total accident. Then I began to look at my surroundings. Somehow, I had missed seeing this whole section of the town that was fully decorated with these evil and demonic ornaments everywhere. It wasn't like Halloween ornaments like witches, ghosts, and pumpkins. It was like banshees, ghouls, severed heads, and dead bodies hanging from chains and or hooks, and maybe a little entrails here and there. I don't even remember if I saw any blood. Well, anyway, I decided to go back the way I came, which I remember was the set of stairs going through the brick building that had the underpass. As I looked back in that direction, I noticed that the underpass was now a longer walk to get to the other side, and it was also in the shape of a small tunnel rather than a much bigger arch, because, you know, an underpass is like, you know, huge enough to get lots of people through, whereas, you know, like a small tunnel is like, you know, big enough to get like 1 or 2 people to stand side by side of each other. So it's like it had dramatically changed in size. And that was strange because it was not like that when I walked through it the first time. And now there were shifty looking people walking around in it. In fact, I only think I remember seeing 2 people, and I remember the description of one of them. He was a dude with long white or grayish hair, and he had blighted skin, almost like it was rotting. And he was sort of palish green, and he had a tint of red under his eyes. It was sort of dark, but it was definitely red. And I think he was wearing a cloak. It was one weird looking dude, and for whatever reason, I sort of got the vibe that it was his house that I was next to with this Yoshimitsu statue in front of it. So now the tunnel is also filled with hanging heads and body parts from chains and hooks. So, you know, I turned around, I did a complete 180, and now I'm looking back at the stretch of land right in front of me leading to the wall, and the creepy house to my left, and to my right is the open gate with a little incline. There's maybe a little more dirt road, and then there's more of the town. But I don't remember what it is that I saw, but I didn't feel safe going in that direction. My guess is I saw more of the same evil demonic ornaments hanging around everywhere, so in my mind, there's only one more place to go. It's to the top of this brick building which housed the underpass. Because on the inside of the gate, if I'm, you know, standing right inside the gate like I've just walked through it, to my left, there's the stone wall. In front of me, there's more of the town, and to my right is the brick building. Well, I can't go anywhere because there's the wall there. I can't go in the town because, you know, it's like more the same of what's behind me. And to my right, there's the building. So I can't do anything else but scale the building. So I'm at the back of the building, and there's some half-done scaffolding and some metal stairs that I can walk up. My idea was that maybe if I got to the roof, I could see where I am. Maybe I could jump off of the building and get back to where I was, or just, you know, the hell out of here. All of these stairs that I'm talking about are outside of the building and connected to it in some way, although later I will get to a part where there's some stairs inside and it'll be obvious then, but I just kind of want to paint the picture for you. These stairs that I'm about to walk up, they're all connected to the building on the outside in the back of this building. So I walk up these makeshift stairs to the second level of this building where I notice 2 doors, and then to the right of that is some stairs that are connected to the building, built right into the building, also made out of brick that lead to the roof. So I go up these stairs, or at least I try to, and while I'm walking up these stairs, I notice that now it's nighttime. Remember earlier I said the sun was setting, well now it's nighttime. And I look to the top of the stairs, and there's a pale bald man in a cloak with very dark under eyes looking off to the right of the building on the roof. He never looks at me, though he speaks and he says something along the lines of,
"Now see here, you're in trouble. It is past the hours of which I normally do tattoos, but for you, I'll make an exception."
Which I realize really doesn't make any sense, but that's pretty much what he said. I immediately turn around and I go back to the second level with the 2 doors, and I'm thinking, maybe I can get to the other side of this building by simply going through it. I open the door closest to me at the bottom of these stairs on the second level, and it appears to be a subway station terminal. I mean, this room makes no sense compared to the rest of the dimensions of this building, but I am standing in this room, which appears to be larger than the building on the outside. But here I am. Now there are some stairs going down behind this door, and then there's the hallway, and there's posters and stuff on the walls with like advertisements and whatnot. And a few feet in front of the bottom of these stairs, there's a bunch of those things where you stick in your ticket and you walk through the rotating bars. However, just a little bit before these bars, there's some prison bars and a guy behind it wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. This man is clearly crazy, and his eyes are covered in a dirty and bloody rag wrapped around his head. Yeah, there's the blood. I knew I saw it somewhere. It looked like something had happened to his eyes, like maybe they had been stabbed or gouged out. I don't know. So then he quote-unquote sees me, and he starts pulling and shaking at the bars, and he's screaming, "I need a friend! Let's be friends! I want to be with you!" I go my ass back up them stairs and I shut the door. So then I go back to the Yoshimitsu statue and I try to find those initial stairs that, first of all, if you have a problem with me saying Yoshimitsu rather than Mitsu, f off. So then I go back to the Yoshimitsu statue and I try to find those initial stairs that brought me here in the underpass. Remember, the last time I looked at it, it had changed into a long tunnel of scary things, and I didn't know whether or not it would still be the same when I looked at it again, so I thought that I should at least give it a try. Luckily, when I got back to the underpass, it was back the way it was, but it was now filled with bodies and heads hanging from hooks. But this is definitely the way that I came before when I was chasing down the speedsters. So I look back towards the street that I had come from, and it's that town that I was talking about. And the town looks normal, but now there's zombies walking around. I noticed at least 2 fat black policeman zombies walking and stumbling around in circles. I don't have a weapon. I don't know how many hits it would take to take these guys down. They have guns on their bodies. I just didn't want to deal with this, even though I know this is the way that I've been trying to get back to. It just didn't seem possible at the time. This is a dream. Leave me alone. I'm scared like a mother. So then I head back to the second level of this brick building. Somehow I lose my sense of direction, and I try to get back to the top of the roof. I see the pale bald man in the cloak again. He speaks, and he says,
"That's it. I'm going to kill you."
So now I'm looking for a way out of this situation. The pale bald man in a cloak is walking down the stairs, albeit very slowly, and I run down to the second level. I choose the same door that I chose the last time because it was closest to me and I was, frantically trying to get away. I open the door, and it's the guy behind the bars again, and he's still screaming about friendship or some shit. But I specifically remember that he somehow bent the bars enough to be able to slip through while he's saying, "I got attached!" So now this guy is coming after me. I shut the door, and now there's 2 guys mere seconds away from killing me. There's only one more place I haven't tried. It's that second door furthest away from these stairs. I open that door, and I run down the stairs. It's a repeat of the same goddamn room right next to it, but the guy hasn't slipped through the bars yet. And he's repeating the same thing he said to me the first time about friendship and him wanting to be my friend and all his bullshit. But this time I notice his prison outfit isn't orange. It's this sort of slightly green, grayish color. So then I rush up the stairs, and this is when I notice that I'm in a dream because none of this makes any logical sense, and I know that I can control this to some degree. So I figured that maybe if I reopen the door that I opened the first time, it'll be different like when I went back to the underpass. So I opened that door, and the blind man in the orange jumpsuit is now face to face with me. I do a complete 180 turn around, and the pale bald man in a cloak is face to face with me as well. And now I'm sandwiched between these two maniacs that want to kill me, and I know that I can't go anywhere. Time had run out, but me knowing this is a dream, know there's exactly one way out. I have to wake up. So I did what I always do when I'm extremely afraid and I realize that I'm in a dream. I shake my body violently until my body in the real world actually moves. You see, I know that when you're asleep, you're essentially paralyzed. This is why you can be moving around in the dream but still be completely still in your bed. I learned a long time ago that I can wake myself up by giving my body way too many commands to stay still even in my sleep. So just picture me flailing around like an idiot in very fast and jerky motions inside the dream until the very next thing I see is me turning over in the bed or something like that, or moving my arm or turning my head. That's, you know, something simple like that. And that's what I did. Normally I would have to do many different motions, but I was focused. I was about to get killed. And even though I realize this is a dream, this is stressing me the f out. So I gave my body one good, quick, violent shake to my left, and I knew that this would translate to something like me turning over in my bed. And that's exactly what happened. I turned over in the bed, and the motion woke me up. I grabbed my phone, and I opened the document, and I started typing what just happened. So that's all for this dream. I realized that was strange and detailed, but I remember the dreams that have this much detail in them. I mean, it's weird. I have yet another dream that I think I want to make a video on, but I'm not entirely sure. And it's called Jaeger Dager. Let me say that again, Jaeger Dager. And it's silly, and I realize that makes no sense, but it was a phrase that was repeated over and over in this dream. And if you responded wrongly to it, you got shot. So I kind of want to make a video about it, but it sounds so crazy. I feel like it would just be cringy. But if you want me to make that video, I will make it sometime soon. If you leave a like on this video or comment that, yeah, I want to see that video. If I get to tell that story, it'll be something. It will be something. That's all for this video today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smack that like button with an iron fist. And remember that you cannot kill an idea. See you guys next time. Ow!